And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. A trend that we've been seeing recently, I've been seeing, maybe as you get older, you see it more, I don't know, is both the concept of, oh, well, it's not both, right? People are dying. Been to a lot of funerals recently, but I'd like to focus on something else, and that's divorce for seniors or those who are getting older. I've seen lots and lots of cases recently of seniors, which could be defined, let's define it between those over 50 who have divorced, and the significant, let's say, financial ramifications that it has on the women, okay? I'm not anything against men, nothing against women. I'm just speaking about the facts. Okay, people are saying, "Oh, you Katzman, you're sticking up for the men." I have nothing. I'm not sticking up for anybody. Okay, first of all, I'm against divorce in general, unless it's really, really necessary. But let's forget about that for a second. Okay, there's a term. It's called gray divorce. Okay, there was an article recently on CNBC where they say the rate of gray divorce, a term that describes divorce at age 50 and older, doubled from 1990 to 2019, according to a 2022 study published in the Journals of Gerontology. It tripled for adults over the age of 65. In 1970, only 8% of Americans who divorced were age 50 and older. By 2019, that share had jumped to an astounding 36%. That's more than a third of all people who are divorcing are getting divorced over the age of 50. About 1 in 10 people who divorced in 2019 were at least 65 years old. Meanwhile, rates of divorce have declined among younger adults. Okay, the issues are that there can be significant, like I said, financial ramifications for those who divorce later on, especially for women, especially older women who may not have been part of the workforce and don't have necessarily their own retirement savings, right? For younger women now who are part of the workforce, and in certain lots of cases, they make more than men in many cases. So the financial situation after divorce, in many cases, isn't quite as bad, okay? But for seniors, it can be quite devastating, right? Women go, they might not know what's going on with the financial situation. They push for a divorce, and then they wake up and they realize, oh my God, I've got no money. Okay, that can be a problem. So there are some things that you can do to take care of the situation. One is be a partner while you're still married. Know what's going on with your family finances, okay? It's important to know so that when you're making the decision whether you should or you shouldn't go ahead and divorce, you're going to know what your financial situation is, right? That can be very important. I know people who have stayed married in not such great marriages because financially there's just no way they could possibly live on their own. So they stayed married. They might live separate lives or whatever, but it makes sense for them financially to stay in the marriage, right? I know it sounds not romantic and it sounds not 2024-ish, but staying in a less than phenomenal marriage for financial reasons for many people might be a reasonable solution. Okay, so again, I'm saying things which are not so popular today, but I say things all the time which are not so popular. So what's another one? When you're making the decision, I've counseled lots and lots of both men and women who have been on the path to divorce, just to see, A, what is their financial situation, and B, when they decide to split assets, right, whether they're gonna be able to live from the money that's either generated from the assets or they can liquidate assets, whatever it is, that they actually have enough that they can retire. That's something that's really, really important. And when you're planning that decision, you really, really should know what your financial situation is going to be afterwards, because sometimes it's not all that it's cracked up to be, right? And if you're 65 and you get divorced and you're going to get your husband's spousal benefits from Social Security and that's it, you're going to have a problem, okay? So one of the solutions is just having a little bit more knowledge, right? Being a partner in terms of managing the family finances. Maybe that's, we all know that the number one reason for divorce in the first place are money issues. So maybe it is a way to save the marriage if you actually partner up in terms of managing the family finances, years beforehand. You won't be in the situation. But even if you are, and you decide, I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go through with it, you'll know what your situation is and whether it's going to be a reasonable decision for you to make. One of the things you can do if you're a stay-at-home spouse also is do what's called a spousal IRA, right? They now have an IRA for those who stay at home. So you can actually put money in from a younger age and you can save so that, when you retire or, either God forbid you become a widower, or you divorce, you're actually going to have a nest egg. That's also very, very, very important so that you actually save your own money down the road. The other thing, obviously, is you do get spousal benefits from Social Security. It's important to be strategic about that, right? To quote the article on CNBC, Social Security is an important source of guaranteed income in retirement, especially for women. The sequence of claiming benefits can be important for married couples and can help women hedge against divorce or widowhood later on. For example, let's say a husband is eligible for a larger Social Security benefit relative to his female spouse. He can defer claiming the benefits to age 70, thereby maximizing his lifetime monthly benefit. The increases the monthly benefit his wife could receive upon divorce or widowhood and helps maximize a woman's cash flow in such circumstances. Sometimes women will still get alimony after divorce. Then again, it's really important to know what your financial situation is and budget out and see how much you think you're going to need when the divorce goes down so that you will have enough money to make ends meet when you're older, right? If you didn't have any savings, if you don't have a spousal IRA, if you don't have your own IRA, if you never joined the workforce, right, you'll get those special spousal benefits. And if you are in the situation where you'll get alimony, so before you make any agreements, okay, sit down with an advisor, with somebody who does budgeting, and figure out how much money do you think you're going to need when you retire, and then ask for that amount, right? Stick to it, because you're not going to have, if you're 65, if you're 70 and you decide to divorce, there's a good chance you're not going to have any more, there's no inheritances probably that are going to come in. Chances are, right, the inheritances already came in or they're not going to happen. You're not going to make ends meet just on Social Security, probably. You're going to need some additional money, right? And you're not going to, when you're 75 years old, you're not going to go out to work, chances are, for the first time in your life, right? So you really have to prepare before you make the decision. I just can't tell you. I've seen it so many times. I've seen a lot of quote unquote, it was a great idea at the time, but 7 years later, they're like, wow, maybe this wasn't such a good idea because, they haven't necessarily moved in with their kids, but maybe they have to get some money from the children. They all pool some money to help the spouse that moved forward and didn't have a lot of money when they decided to go ahead and divorce. So if you're planning on divorce, think long and hard. Don't just concentrate on the emotional aspect, but sit down with a pen and paper and figure out at any age, but especially if you're seniors, right? Gray divorce, if you're over 50, think long and hard about whether you can make it work financially. And if you can't, think long and hard if this is really what you want to do, because ultimately you've got to eat, okay? It's important. You might want to sit with somebody, a professional, consult with them, whatever, but make sure if you're going to make this, probably the largest decision you're ever going to make in your life, other than maybe getting married in the first place, make sure that you're financially going to be able to handle it. I'm not talking about a case of abuse or what have you, where you just want to get out, right? But, in more than the average case of divorce, you want to think long and hard if it makes sense financially for you to do so, okay? On that happy note, you've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please, please, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.